Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Kim Robinson, author of A Civil Right to Love. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being invited.
Absolutely. Are you ready to get started?
Most definitely.
All right. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Grow a very thick skin. You're going to need it. My first submission came back, and I didn't know anything about writing. I just wrote it, and then I got a letter back that said, somebody told you that it said, you have a really good story, but somebody told you could write, and in big letters it said they lied.
Wow.
But I got a lot from that because they told me to go take some classes, and that's what I did. And 6 books later, here I am.
All right. Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Getting published, getting the marketing and everything down. It's expensive. It's a lot to get yourself out there. And, I think the marketing, if you don't have time to sell it, don't write it.
And
if you don't have time to get out and sell it, don't bother writing it.
Well, and that's great advice, and that's going to transition perfectly into our next question, and that is in regards to marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Gumbo. In a word, gumbo. My first book is The Ruin the Gumbo, my family history starting in the 1800s. And I was writing my grandmother's life story, and I didn't know what I was going to call it, but one day I was standing in the kitchen, which we have this family recipe that's been around like 300 years, and I was making my roux, and then it came to me, the roux and the gumbo, because that's the base that holds everything together. So I made that gumbo when my book first came out for a library. After that, people were sending for me all over the country. Book clubs wanted me to come and prepare my gumbo while I did the book club meeting. And it was really successful. Got me to the Dallas bestsellers list.
That is really cool. The gumbo marketing strategy. I love it. So basically it's not only a book sign, but it's an experience. So they get to hang out with you, but more importantly, they get to taste some of that delicious gumbo.
Yeah, and they get to watch me put it together while they're asking me questions about the book. Another thing I do, where I live, they have wet and dry areas as far as liquor goes. And they finally zoned one little part of a city that has like 5 cities around it where there's this liquor store where everybody goes, right? Well, I sit in there and sell my books. Like once or twice a month, I'll go on a Friday or Saturday night for a couple of hours, and I have yet to walk out of there with less than $100.
So essentially, it's like a neighborhood location, and then you're going there once or twice a month, and then it's just building that relationship and having those consistent sign-ins. And as you're doing that, it's also nicely profitable, it sounds like.
Yes, it is. It does work. I call it, and then my thing is, okay, you got your booze, come on, get your book.
Yeah, that is a great idea because we hear a lot of different strategies on the show. But what I love to hear are unique strategies, but more importantly, ones that you can use locally. So instead of just thinking about advertising out to all over the world on the internet and everything, but making that local connection, it sounds like you have two great examples of having those book signings, making a little gumbo, having a great conversation, and the same thing with being consistent at that store where people get to know you, to build their relationship, and it's the whole know, like, and trust concept. And both of those strategies are perfect in relation to that.
Which is, I'm really good with the hand to hand thing, being face to face with people. It's the lunch with getting, since bookstores started closing, it's been a lot harder, as far as getting your stuff into bookstores. And with the new ebooks and audiobooks, that's the market that I need to learn how to reach. I know how to sell face to face. If I can get you to say hi, I can get you to buy a book. So that's the part that I find really challenging. Writing to all these bookstores, getting them to carry your books, and then you have to buy the books back if they don't sell, or you go to them, and it's a toss up. You go to conferences, you spend a lot of money, but you don't always make a lot of money back. So that's where my problem is, or my problems lie. But as far, I like getting out and having my table set up and selling to people. It's fun. You meet people, you have a good time, and it's just a way, I like people to be able to feel that they can reach out to me and talk to me about my books later, And when they've met you, they don't have a problem with that.
Well, and it sounds like you've definitely mastered making the personal connection, and that's such a strong strategy to have. So even though there's some areas of opportunity to other sides of the market, and you do have that, and it's a great thing, especially when you are marketing locally and promoting your book and your brand.
Yeah, that I'd have no problem with. But I need to get to the rest of the world.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your favorite book. So, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
My favorite book that I've written or that I've read?
The favorite book that you have read. So, preferably a book that you've read, not your own.
Okay. Master of the Game is my all-time favorite book. Okay, there are actually two of them. One of them is by Sidney Sheldon, and then there's another urban fiction, Master of the Game. Both of those books were really inspiring to me.
And what was it that was inspiring to you?
Well, Sidney Sheldon's book, the intricacy of it, of following different characters, falling in love with them, falling in love with their plight and their drama, and seeing life through their eyes. I used to hide in the bathroom. My father used to keep all his books in the bathroom, so I started reading at the age of 3. I had lots of aunts and uncles, and they tutored. But my father used to keep his books in the bathroom. I'd get a pillow, go lay in the tub, and read. And the Master of the Game was really something that pulled me in, because of the way that he made you see things and feel things. And I've always had a love for books.
So for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
My grandmother used to say, "There's good white folks, there's bad white folks. There's good black folks, and there's good white folks. It's all the color of your heart. That quote, and life is like a pot of gumbo. You get out what you put in.
I love both of those quotes. Those are, I mean, and especially in this time that we're in right now, they are so important to focus on, because that's what it's about. It's not about color. It's about who you are inside and being a good person. So I'm so glad that you shared those quotes. And you have me really badly craving gumbo right now. I just want you to know that.
Well, I make it every year for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So if you come through Dallas, you let me know. I have your bowl waiting for you.
We might have to do that. I'm actually in Arlington, so I'm about 30 minutes out. So I think I need to have some gumbo.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I got you. You will be coming to the next. Yes, you will be here.
You had me at gumbo.
Okay. Yeah, actually, the recipe is actually in the front of the Ruin the Gumbo.
Oh.
But you'll like it better made by me.
Well, Kim, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
www.kim-robinson.com or Author Kim Robinson on Facebook.
Well, Kim, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.